To provide insights into this matter, we have retired Supreme Court Associate Justice Antonio Carpio. Magandang umaga po. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning, Gretchen. Good morning to our viewers.
Narinig niyo po yung dalawang resolution po, one filed by Senator Alan Cayetano and the other one by the Makabayan Bloc. I believe you said that these resolutions have no bearing on the granting of the interim release. Could you expound that for us?
Well, the ICC has jurisdiction over the case now, and it's outside the jurisdiction of the Philippines now. So technically, the ICC can just ignore whatever resolutions that the House or the Senate will issue. But the substance of this is that based on earlier cases of the ICC, there are three grounds that must be complied with before an interim release can be granted. Three grounds. The first is that the accused, the host country who will accept the accused, the resolution of both houses is that the Duterte will be allowed to stay here. In the meantime, the host country has to ensure that the accused will appear at the trial, because under the ICC rules, and that's in the Rome Statute, the accused must be present at the trial, otherwise the trial cannot proceed. So, napaka-importante that the accused himself must be present at the trial. So if, for example, there is given interim release and the Philippines is allowed to host him, then we have to guarantee that at the time of the trial, he will be brought there by the Philippine government. But we don't have a treaty anymore with the ICC. We withdrew. So we don't have a legal obligation to turn him over. So the important thing is we first rejoin the ICC before we can guarantee his return. We cannot guarantee his return. And secondly, since we don't have a treaty with the ICC anymore, we're not a party anymore, Duterte can just go to the Supreme Court and ask the Supreme Court to stop any action by the government to return him. And if the Supreme Court says, okay, the government cannot return you to the ICC, then the trial cannot proceed anymore, because cannot be present at the ICC anymore. And besides, VP Sara said he will run for president in 2028, and if he wins, then with more reason she will not allow his father to be returned to the ICC. So there is no assurance. We cannot assure the ICC that we can return Duterte for purposes of the trial. So we cannot comply with the first condition. The second condition of the ICC is that the accused, once he's given interim release, will not obstruct the trial. Now, former President Duterte still has his organization here. His Davao Death Squad is still intact in the Philippines. So his supporters here will harass or intimidate the family of witnesses and victims. So that will be obstructing the trial. There can be no guarantee, because Duterte still has a lot of following here. So that second condition cannot also be complied with. And there is a third condition. The last condition is the accused, once he's given interim relief, will not continue to commit the same offense. Now, President Duterte, former President Duterte, when he ran for mayor of Davao, he publicly announced that if elected, he will continue the drug war. So if he's returned here, he will assume office as mayor and continue the drug war. He will continue to commit the same offense. He cannot comply with this. So these are very strong grounds to deny the interim relief. He cannot comply. His lawyer wrote in the motion for an interim release said that Duterte promises not to commit the same crimes. But when he ran for mayor and he won overwhelmingly, ran for mayor for Davao, he said, if elected again, I will continue the drug war. So he'll commit the same offense. So I think uh, the there is no ground to grant the interim release, and the ICC will deny it. Thank you.
It seems it will be very, very difficult according to the grounds that you mentioned. But I just want to go back to the first ground, which is that the host country should agree or make sure that the accused will appear. Kung sakasakali po, I mean, ibig sabihin po dahil sa inyong palagay, kahit po kung naging presidente po si VP Sara Duterte in 2028 and she decides to rejoin the ICC, the Philippines could play as host country if we could assure that the former president will appear in the trial. Yun po yung sinasabi po ninyo. Pero malabo po na gagawin po niya. Tama po ba?
Well, first of all, we are not a member of ICC anymore. And there's no move to rejoin the ICC. Let us say we are now 20 and 28. VP Sara wins the presidency. Then she will not rejoin
If
the ICC.
she does rejoin so that we could play host country,
Well,
that could be a step.
Well, first of all, I think it's far-fetched that she will rejoin because the fathers withdrew, and I don't think he will undo what the father did, no. And she will also not turn over her father because their position is he was kidnapped. The family position is that he was kidnapped by the ICC, by the Marcos government, and brought to ICC. They have not recognized the jurisdiction of the ICC, so they will not turn him over. Because they said we don't recognize the jurisdiction of the ICC. So if you don't recognize the jurisdiction of the ICC, why will you turn over the former president to the ICC if you are already the president?
On the second ground that you mentioned, the ICC will grant an interim release on the condition that the accused will not obstruct the trial. You mentioned intimidation and harassment as being part of that. Kasama po ba doon? I mean, yung mga social media na parang pag binabash po o
Yes,
gumagawa
that's
po
part
ng mga
of the
meme, it would be...
That's part of the threats. That's part of the threats. That's part of the intimidation. They're publicly saying in social media that the families will suffer if they will continue to be witnesses.
And of course, we are seeing the circulation of photos of the former president's deteriorating condition. CNN bones siya, which the vice president has already said is fake. It is a fake photo. What would you say to the argument that his human rights need to be respected and he should be granted an interim release because of his deteriorating health attributed to old age and prolonged isolation? That's from Senator Alan Peter Cayetano.
Well, first of all, he was strong enough to run for mayor. And if you're strong enough to run for mayor, the work of a mayor is very taxing. I mean, you have to meet your constituents every day, attend to their problems. So the fact that he ran for mayor and won and is willing to serve, that means he's fit to serve, to perform a very taxing job. So I don't see any problem. He cannot justify that he's now old and weak, but he decided to run. That means he thinks that he's fit to perform the demanding functions of a mayor.
Okay, let us leave that with the ICC courts to decide on. Of course, gaya po nasabi po ninyo, no, wala na po sa jurisdiction ito ng Pilipinas. Puntahan naman po natin yung nasa jurisdiction ng Pilipinas, which is the impeachment of the Vice President. I wanted to get your mind on the role of the ombudsman here because he has already started the preliminary investigation into the spending of the Vice President's Office of Confidential Funds. Na sinabi po ni Congressman Joel Chua there is jurisprudence stating that impeachable officials must be impeached first before a criminal case can be filed against him or her. Tama po ba siya doon sa kanyang pagbasa nun?
Yes, if the criminal case will involve his imprisonment, the rationale behind that is if he's in prison, you're actually removing him from office. So
Correct.
if he and the Constitution says he can only be removed from office through impeachment. But if you file a criminal case and he's imprisoned, he has been removed from office. So that's why the impeachable officers cannot be prosecuted criminally unless they are impeached.
Ganun po ba yun? I mean, automatic po ba yun na when they have a criminal case against them, they are automatically removed from office? Hindi po ba meron tayong mga politiko
that's why what
na
I'm saying,
nakukulong? Oo.
If the penalty involves imprisonment, then he is technically removed from office because he cannot perform his function anymore. That's equivalent to removal from office. So that's why he has to be impeached first. But if the penalty is just monetary fine, then the case can proceed. That's my opinion.
Pero hindi po ba meron tayong mga parang serving, before we had a serving senator, he was imprisoned, pero hindi
But
po
the
siya...
senators are not impeachable officers.
Okay. All right, got it. So dapat po mauna yung in your point of view. But the Congressman Joel Chua already mentioned yesterday na parang hinold na po ito ng Office of the Ombudsman. Pagdating naman po dun sa, the Supreme Court is asking the House to respond to, or to explain itself why it did not violate the one-year ban. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, how the impeachment complaint went through the House of Representatives. 3 complaints po yun na hindi tinanggap daw ng Secretary General kaya hindi na-transmit sa Speaker. Did they violate, in your opinion, did they violate the one-year ban?
Well, the petitioners before the Supreme Court, VP Sara and si Attorney Torion, they are claiming that the 10 session days period for the plenary of the House to act lapsed. The 10 session days lapsed and they did not act on the first complaint or the second or third complaint. So, but in the reply of the House to the answer of VP Sara before the impeachment court, they stated there the session days. Because we remember this was December and there were few session days. And from the time of filing of the first complaint, on the 10th session day, the House submitted the resolution signed by at least 1/3 of the members of the House to the Secretary General. And under another provision of the Constitution, once there is a resolution by at least 1/3 of the members of the House, that resolution on impeachment becomes the articles of impeachment and supersedes existing impeachment complaints that are still with the plenary. So the resolution of the House, signed by more than 1/3, was submitted to the Secretary General on the 10th session day. So within the 10th session day, automatically that resolution of the House superseded the first 3 impeachment complaints under the provision of the Constitution. Because it says once there is a resolution of the members of at least 1/3 of the members of the House, that resolution becomes automatically the articles of impeachment to be submitted to the Senate. And trial shall proceed forthwith. So the issue here was that were those the actual events that happened. In other words, did the resolution of the House signed by at least 1/3, was that resolution submitted on the 10th session day?
That
If it was
is the,
submitted on the 10th session day, it superseded the first three impeachment complaints. So it will boil down to that. And according to the House, when they submitted their reply before the impeachment court, they laid down the dates that we complied. It was done on the 10th session day. So the Supreme Court asked for the same information from the House because the House had not yet really commented on the petitions of VP Sara and Attorney Torion. So they will submit the same answer that we did not violate the 10th session day rule because on the 10th day, the resolution of one-third of the members of the House, at least one-third, was submitted to the Secretary General as stated in the rules of the House. So it will boil down to that. That is, I think, the overriding issue before the Supreme Court. And if the House is correct, and I don't see any reason why they would put that in writing, and that can be verified. That's why the Supreme Court is asking for verification from the House. So if the resolution of the House signed by one-third at least of the members of the House was filed on the 10th session day, then that takes precedence, it overrides, it supersedes the first three impeachment complaints.
Do you think that the Supreme Court could answer that in time for the convening of the impeachment court? Because the first on their agenda would be to discuss the answer ad cautelam of the Vice President, tackling the same issues, the jurisdictional issues. Yung po ba, kaya po ba pag-usapan yun? I mean, among senators, kung ganun kakomplikado po itong issue na ito, kakayanin po ba ng SC maglabas kaagad?
Well, I think the Supreme Court is aware of the deadline that on the July 27th or 29th, the impeachment court will convene. That's why they issued this resolution to the House. So I think they will come out with a decision on this on time.
Okay. And the final question is, they will also vote on the motion to dismiss. How do you envision this going? If many of the senators do vote to dismiss the impeachment complaint, what other else could the prosecution team do?
Well, the impeachment court will vote to dismiss only if the Supreme Court says that the 10th day session day rule was violated. So they have a ground. But if the Supreme Court will say there was no violation, so they cannot dismiss the case because that is the ground for dismissing. The ground for dismissing in the Senate impeachment court is the 10-day session rule was violated. But if the Supreme Court already says it was not violated, they cannot dismiss it. Now, if the Supreme Court says it was violated, then they will automatically dismiss the impeachment complaint. And what will happen? The prosecution will just refile it because by January of 2026, the one-year bar rule has expired already, would have expired already.
So mag-aantay na lang po ng konti to file again. And
Yes.
Of course, it will be a different composition in the House voting for that. So all of that, kahit po wala yung word na dismissal sa Constitution?
No, because the Senate impeachment court will dismiss it based on the decision of the Supreme Court. That there was a violation. Katulad during in the Francisco case, the Supreme Court said that the resolution of the House signed by one-third was void because it was filed late. So the House followed it. The Senate followed that. So they will both follow whatever the Supreme Court will say.
I guess a lot will boil down on that Supreme Court decision. And we await that. Hopefully it will come out on time for the July 29 convening of the impeachment court. In the meantime, maraming salamat po for your time and insights and for explaining things to us. We have retired Supreme Court Associate Justice Antonio Carpio.